We're making junk journal pockets today. I have got 3 fun ideas for you, and I'm showing you how I decorate my pages with some tips and tricks, including a little tea tag that I think you're going to like. I'm also going to be sharing with you how to get a free printable that I have coming up. Here we go, y'all. Well, hello and welcome to Pink Paper Peppermints. My name is Melissa and I'm so glad you're here. Today is part 2 of our Mini Matchbook Junk Journal tutorial series, and we are going to be decorating the pages. If you missed that first video, I will link it below, but essentially we are using my new creation mini junk journal kit to put together this mini junk journal, and I am going to be showing you how I'm doing that. And this first little tag I have made from an index card that I sprayed ink on, and my little ribbon border was just the scraps from my ribbon binding, and I just sewed those scraps. I scooped them off the table and sewed them to the bottom of my tag here, and I've just got a note on the back of that about what my journal is going to be about, and I am actually going to give a printable version of that tag with the scripture to my newsletter subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, you might want to do that. If you miss it, that's going to be the next couple of weeks in April and May. I'll include that printable. But if you miss it, you still might want to subscribe, because I do about 2 or 3 free printables, sometimes 4 or 5 free printables in my newsletter every month. So the first thing that I wanted to show you was on this page here, we're going to put this little mini journal card. And I wanted to show you that the printable paper at the bottom had a little bit of a white border that I didn't quite cut off when I was cutting it out. And I didn't want to trim the page anymore and make it too small, so I just sewed a pom-pom border to it to cover that up. So that's a trick that you can do if you have flaws on the bottom of your page, is to just use a trim. I'm going to tape this journal card with some fabric washi tape, and that's just going to be a little place for hidden journaling. And then that's a piece of wrapping paper tissue that I just thought was so pretty, and I wanted to tuck that in there. This is another piece of ephemera from the kit, and I've just sewn it on with a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. And I've got some other pieces of ephemera that I'm going to do the same. So I've just sewn around 3 edges of this ephemera with my rainbow variegated thread that I love, and a zigzag stitch. And then I sewed this ribbon banner to the top, and I added a little Rotary stamp from Creative Devotion that says God is good. I just stamped it over and over again. And then I've got more ephemera on the other side, and of course a little bit of pink pom-pom trim also sewn with a zigzag stitch. I'm tucking some tags in there that come with the kit for later journaling. And on the next page, you'll see some of the junk journal pages and the little butterfly page wrap. And now I'm going to show you how to make a little belly band tuck spot. I'm just going to use this word art, and I'm going to sew it to the page for a place to tuck in these pretty tags. And these tags also come with the kit, and they both have Bible verses and favorite hymn lyrics on them. And so I'm going to sew this on with a straight stitch. You can see just on the edges, and I've added some silk flowers and ribbon to my tags, and I'm just going to tuck them right in there like that. And I kind of like using this style for tags better when I have long tags, because you can see the bottoms of your pretty tags. And I've got some space on the back to journal. Now, we made this pocket page in the last video, and I just added some ribbon and I tucked in some ephemera, so when I get ready to journal and work in it, I've already got all my little pieces of cutout ephemera there. I like to do that ahead of time. And this little butterfly tab comes with it, and you can cut this in half and use it as 2 tabs, or you can do what I'm going to do, which is to fold it in half and staple it, and now I've got a double-sided butterfly tab to use on my page. So pink on one side and blue on the other side. You could also sew it to your paper, and you could add tulle or ribbon to dress it up a little bit. So next we're going to make a fun little addition to this piece of ephemera that is a teacup, and what I thought would be fun was to make a tag for the tea as if the bag was hanging out of it. And I've just typed a sentiment on this ledger paper tag. I messed up the first one and had to do it again, and I'm going to cut that out in a little square shape. You could also print this on your computer if you don't have a typewriter. And once I get that all cut out, I'm going to get some twine, and this is going to be what I'm going to use. I'm going to cut a little slit in the top of my teacup with an X-Acto blade. That would be for grown-ups only, kids, if you're watching. And I'm going to use a tapestry needle to get my twine through that little slit, and depending on how big your tapestry needle is, you might have to fix that hole a little bit so it's not as visible. I'm going to pull it through, and I'm just going to add a little bit of washi tape to the back just to secure it and make sure that it doesn't slip out. Then I'm going to staple that little tab that I made to the other end of the twine. Again, put a little bit of washi tape on the back to secure it to the back, and now I have a little tea tag hanging out from my teacup. And then the next thing I want to do is just staple it to the page on the side and on the bottom to create a little tuck spot for another tag. So I'm just going to staple that. You could also sew it or use adhesive if you wanted to, but I just like sometimes to do it really quick and move on to the next thing. So I'm going to tuck that tag. That is a tag that comes with the bonus page of the kit, and there you see my little tea tag, and I just thought that looked so pretty, and you could type any sentiment on it. Now we've got our coin wrapper, and I wanted to show you these coin wrappers come with the kit, and there are a lot of ways you can use them. One of the ways is to take the ephemera that comes with the kit and create a little booklet, and that's what I've done here. I've just sewn a zigzag stitch right up the middle of these two pieces of ephemera to create this booklet, and you could get fancy and add pages, but I'm not going to do that. And then tuck it inside your coin envelope for a little hidden place for journaling. And I've created another belly band there with ribbon like we did with the word art earlier to tuck my coin envelope into, and depending on how tight you make it, you could fit several coin envelopes in there. Now you see that ink splotch on the bottom of my page. My printer does that every once in a while, and I just wanted to show you a trick using the ephemera that you saw there. I'm just going to wrap it around the bottom of the page and staple it, and that is going to cover up that little ink splotch that I had there, but it also makes a fun tuck spot. And I've got a butterfly that I'm just going to attach to that, and I like to staple those right in the center, and that gives room to fold their little wings up to make it look like they're sort of landing on your page. And now you see we've got that great tuck spot for both sides of the paper. So now I want to show you another fun envelope trick. I guess you could call it a trick. It's kind of a hidden envelope in a tag. And so I've cut these tags from book paper, and I'm using a 1.5-inch square punch to cut out a square from the center to place my little envelope behind, and that envelope comes in the bonus sheet that comes with the kit. And I'm using some Fabri Fix adhesive, which I know it's for fabric, but I like to use it for paper because it dries really fast and it doesn't buckle. And I'm attaching my little envelope so that it shows through. So from the front, it looks like you just have a tag, and then on the back, you've got this little hidden envelope. Then I'm going to take my squares that I cut out from the tags and make a tiny little book. I'm using some tulle to decorate it, and it's going to be like a little kind of like a little mini square tag book, and I'm just going to staple that tulle to the top of my two little squares to create this little tag. And you could put stickers on it, you could add some writing to it, you could paint on it, whatever you wanted to do with that. And I'm just going to tuck it into my little envelope in the back there. And now I'm going to add some ribbon and tulle to the top of my tag and a little silk flower with my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, and tuck that into my little tuck spot that we created earlier. So I wanted to show you one more pocket trick, and this is a fun way to use the coin envelopes. You don't have to just use them as envelopes. If you cut off that top flap and then fold the other 3 flaps in, you have another little pocket. And I'm using my adhesive again to just glue those flaps down, and then I'm going to glue it to the back page of my book. The back page is made from cardstock, so it's a little sturdier, and I'm going to put some heavier cards in that pocket, some ephemera and some cards. And so that's another way that you can use the coin envelope as a pocket. Okay, let's do another pocket idea. This is kind of a pocket, kind of a pouch, and I'm using that pattern paper that I showed you in my first video, and I just printed 2 pattern papers back to back, and I used my die cut machine to cut out 4 circles. You could also trace a drinking glass if you don't have a die cut machine, or use a large punch. And all we're going to do is fold these 4 circles in half to start with. So you're going to fold all 4 of your circles in half, and then we want to line up the straight edges to form a square. You see what I'm doing there, lining up those straight edges to form a square. And then we're going to be gluing them, and you just want to overlap each one, every other one, over, under, and I'll show you what I mean as I'm gluing here. So I've got my first circle laying flat, and I'm going to put my second circle on top of it, and I'm just adding a little adhesive to the first circle, and then I'm going to take the second circle and lay it on top, and we're just going to line up those corners. And the more even you have those corners lined up, the easier your little pocket will fold up. So you want to try and get those lined up at right angles to each other. And so you want to let that dry a little bit because it works better if it's completely dry before you add the next circle. And now here's our third circle, and because that second circle was on top of the first circle, now we want it to be underneath the third circle. And I hope you can see what I mean there by under, over, under, over. And so I'm making sure to line up those corners, and then I'm going to add my adhesive to the corner there, and I'm going to add that third circle on top of the second circle. So the first circle was underneath the second circle, the third circle is on top of the second circle. So we have under, over, under. And then we're going to do the same thing with the fourth circle. And you can see how we're trying to keep that square shape with the folds. And so now we're going to do our last circle. We're putting a little bit of adhesive down there. And our last circle is going to be on top of the third circle and underneath the first circle. And so we're doing under, over, under, over. And then you're just going to fold it up just like you would kind of a moving box, under, over, under, over. And then you can pop it open and put anything you want inside. And so what I decided to do was to make a little tiny mini book from this piece of birdie ephemera. And I'm going to use one of the leftover book page tags that I had cut out earlier. And I'm just going to put this little piece of bird ephemera on the front. I'm going to fold it in half and put him on the front. And if you wanted to, you could add lots of pages to this and make it like a little mini booklet, but I'm just doing one page and it's more like a little mini card and adding that to it. And then I'm going to tuck it inside and fold it up. And then I want to tie it with a ribbon. And I think this would be such a pretty little Happy Mail gift too. I think you could just mail it in an envelope. Not even in a package, you could just tuck that into an envelope. So I'm just wrapping it with some seam binding. I'm going to take some ribbon and make another belly band, but instead of straight across, I'm going to do it at an angle in the corner and then tuck my little envelope right into that belly. So the next thing I wanted to show you was how I'm actually going to do the closure for my matchbook because I know it's going to be really chunky. I'm using this thick ribbon and I'm just going to pull up those elastics where we wrapped the ribbon and pull that ribbon through, and then I'm just going to tie it on the front, and then I'll be able to untie it whenever I want to work in it. Well, next video I'm going to be showing you journal weaving. It was one of the questions you asked me about my 2019 junk journal flip through, so we're going to be doing journal weaving. And until then, I hope you have a day filled with peace and grace, and I'll see you next time here on Pink Paper Peppermints.